Okay, we're back in the easy content zone on my channel here, doing stuff that's pretty easy to make fun of. Sometimes I think that they might actually do this because they know a lot of people are going to make fun of it, and they're like, well, any attention is good attention, or whatever. This one people are sharing on Twitter, and it's pretty funny. It's nothing new. I mean, these guys, American right-wingers, they're like, oh, freedom. We need freedom of speech, but they all say the exact same crap, and this video is no exception.
I had season tickets to the LA Kings. Hockey is my favorite sport. So I actually had season tickets when they went to the Stanley Cup and won.
Showing off?
By sheer good coincidence. And I love the fact that
By the way, this guy is one of the biggest creeps on the internet, really, unfortunately. Because he has the look of a kindly old man, but he's doing this weird right-wing propaganda channel for oil companies. But I kind of like that he likes hockey. Because maybe it's because I'm a hockey fan and it's more rare in the United States, but okay, that's not the point.
I would sit next to somebody, of course a total stranger, who had nothing in common with me. Might have, for all I know, the guy was a member of the Communist Party USA, and I didn't care. And he didn't care. We were Kings fans. It is the place of unity, where you're all cheering together, every color, every race.
And by the way, it is not the place for unity. I remember my uncle took me to a hockey game when I was, in grade school, and he almost got in a fight with a guy when he was supposed to be, taking care of this, 8-year-old. I just want to throw that in there.
Every religion, everything. You don't give a damn, and the left has ruined it. Sports is now politics.
Okay, so the left has ruined sports because it's now politics. They're definitely talking about, I guess they're talking about Colin Kaepernick, and LeBron James talks about he talks about Black Lives Matter and stuff. So they're talking about the absolute tragedy. These freedom of speech lovers are talking about the absolute horrific tragedy that these guys who are famous, who have a platform, voice their opinions about things that affect them and affect their communities. These freedom of speech guys who love freedom of speech, who love to blab on, they're like, they need to shut up because I got And by the way, nobody's talking about politics at hockey. So I don't know what this guy's like. I got season tickets to the Kings. Yeah, you're not going to have any problem with politics. They're going to drop tickets from that blimp that goes around in the hockey games. If they still do that. I don't know, I haven't been there in a while. And you're probably getting, you can get in a fight in the parking lot if you want, usually at a hockey game. That's it. And by the way, okay, let's just go into this now about sports. Oh, sports used to be not political, but now they're political because some people said things that I don't like. Some guy takes a knee during the national anthem. Here, this is from The Guardian. This is a good thing if you want to read about this. The bombastic pre-game spectacles of patriotism that had become commonplace at NFL games began to make sense in 2015 after a report by Republican Senators John McCain and Jeff Flake, two really cool guys, revealed the Department of Defense had spent $6.8 million of taxpayer money among more than 50 professional teams across the NFL, NBA, MLB, MLS, and NASCAR. Weirdly, NHL not in there. So I think old Denny Prager is okay. In return, the teams promised to organize displays of national pride, including the honoring of members of the armed forces, surprise military homecomings, and on-field color guard and re-enlistment ceremonies. The co-opting of America's most popular institutions as recruiting tools went by an easy-to-remember name, paid patriotism. So it's kind of funny that these guys have such a problem with politics and sports, but they're not talking about this stuff. Kind of weird. They're talking about, Colin Kaepernick, always. That's their guy who they hate. And who knows, maybe LeBron James, because LeBron James talks about political issues. Weird that they don't mention this. They don't mention the fact that there's money pouring into these things to do these political displays. Interesting. And this honestly, this goes back all the way to World War I. They started, at baseball games, they started doing the national anthem, and it was purely political. People were so disheartened by the absolute horror and tragedy of World War I that they were like, maybe we gotta get some patriotism in here. And it's a whole complicated history of these, post World War I, these institutions, sports institutions, wanting to stay sort of, wanting to be viewed as necessary to the country and very important to the country and to the government. So it's completely tied to politics, and as you can see here, financially tied. These guys aren't belly aching and whining and complaining and peeing their pants about the fact that it's paid political displays. Yet when a guy who just happens to be a black guy, who these guys seem to have some issues with, if you check out Prager U or any of these guys' content, especially Ben Shapiro's one of these guys. Especially Ben Shapiro, not a huge fan,
And it's ended one of the great joys of life.
So there are a couple of things that
he's right. Dennis Prager is absolutely right on this. Like, the guys kneeling or not standing for the national anthem or whatever. So, just the thought, because these networks know people are such babies that they're gonna stop watching and the ratings are gonna go down because a guy kneels for a minute and a half. I'm such a child and a baby, such a diaper baby, that if I just to think that somebody is not standing for the national anthem, which is a paid political display at these sporting events, I get so upset that I poop my diapers. If I had to turn and see a guy, in the corner of my screen who's kneeling for something that he believes in, and I'm a huge free speech guy, and I have to just look a couple inches over and see that, I get so upset that I can't watch, and I have to pee my pants.
You had an accident? What does that mean?
Goo!
Just like these guys. Just like these slobs sitting in this weird car. Is this Adam Carolla's garage? This guy who pretends to be like a working hard hat guy who's been in Hollywood for the last 40 years? Awesome, dude.
left obviously is lying about here. So whenever people say on the right that sports has been ruined, and it has. I mean, I'm a huge...
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely ruined. I can't even watch it. I can't even watch it. Who believes this stuff? This is amazing. Another thing that I love is this guy, Ben Shapiro. I can't remember where, maybe on the Majority Report or something. They played this clip of this guy where he's like, I'm taking my 100 employees and I'm moving out of Los Angeles. I'm moving out of Los Angeles with my 100 employees. He makes a big point of saying that he has 100 employees all the time. Like he's showing off that he's like, I employ 100 people or whatever. First of all, you don't employ 100 people, okay? The people who pay you employ 100 people. The two fracking billionaires who started your website, they employ 100 people, okay? That's who's taking you. And again, I think it's funny that this dude has lived in LA his whole life, and he's like, anything to the left of Strom Thurmond or something is is ruining the world. But I live in LA. Fucking lunatic.
Baseball fan particularly, but also a big basketball fan, and both of my teams this year are actually quite good. The White Sox are great this year, and the Celtics are very good this year. And I have not watched any of it because I'm not going to watch a sport where they've allowed this to bleed onto the field. They always say, well, sports was always political. I mean, go all the way back. Muhammad Ali was political. He wasn't political in the ring, right? He was political out of the ring. Once it starts to infuse your actual viewing experience of the sport, now you have taken what we do for a living and you have placed that into the field of play.
Again, no discussion. He's saying well, sports is ruined because it's on the field. Yeah, the national anthem and all these paid military displays are on the field. So why are they just talking about why are they talking about the left? What about that is the left? I would imagine the left is very anti putting the military and recruitment tools on the field. Am I pointing out the most obvious am I falling for a trap here? I always feel when I watch these stupid right-wing propaganda videos, I'm like, I'm just falling for a trick to make fun of this so that the video spreads more, right? Nobody's this stupid. Well, I think actually these guys aren't that stupid. I think they are like, this is what these dummies want to hear. Like after they yell cut in this weird garage, Jay Leno garage that they're in, they yell cut, and these guys are like, I can't believe these dummies buy this.
And you've allowed outside forces that really divide us to bleed into a place where we at least had a distraction. I mean, literally the word sport comes from the old French de sport, which means to distract. I mean, that was what sport.
It comes from the old French word de sport, which means to distract. I go to watch sports to do a distraction. If some football player like stopped mid-game and he was like, hold on, I want to talk about the Electoral College and how it doesn't represent people properly, and like he like misses the pass because he's like saying that through a loudspeaker. I guess I can see what you're saying, but these guys are literally whining and bellyaching about something that's being forced on these guys to participate on, these sports players who have devoted their lives to being good at a sport, not part of a propaganda campaign. And these guys aren't, again, they're not even mentioning it. Well, of course they're not mentioning it because they're morons. They're paid morons. So I'm just talking to myself at this point.
Sports were meant to do. And the great good that sports was that sports were a way to distract you from real tribal affinities and tribal divisions in favor of fake tribal affinities and tribal divisions, right? Like
So he's saying, like, because in the real world, people have real differences. People have real, quote-unquote, tribal differences. And he's using tribe in a way that means more like, I guess he's talking about political affiliation. Like, oh, I believe that there should be, the minimum wage should be higher. I believe that there should be, Medicare for all or something. And he's comparing this to the type of tribe that would, I guess, war with each other thousands of years ago. And that's like, sports is like a surrogate for that, or a replacement for that. This is like, I feel like he just kind of memorizes things and says them, but they don't pass any kind of thought filter. So basically we're to think that, like, because there are people who have differences, there are people who are not like me. Like, I think that people should be able to access medical care and should never go bankrupt because they get sick. And we should follow every other country in the industrialized world, which has some kind of public single-payer healthcare thing. That's a political view that I believe. But you know what? When I go to watch football, I pretend that the guys, I'm the Miami team. I'm the Miami team, and those guys believe in Medicare for all. And then the guys from Sacramento, the guys from Los Angeles, they don't believe that. And so when I see them fighting, I'm like, oh, this is a different kind of fighting, where it's not, the stakes aren't as high. Who would ever, this makes no sense in any way. I mean, yeah, like, people battle with ideas, but it's not like anyone would go to a football game to say, you know what, I want to stop thinking about the fact that I think we should have Medicare for all for a while, so I'm going to watch people fighting in a different way. And that'll make me forget about the Medicare for all fight. What the fuck? This is the stupidest shit. Okay.
And as you say that you were sitting next to some guy and you had real disagreements with him, but you would never know that. Instead, you as Kings fans were sitting there hating the Blackhawks fans, right? And after the game, you didn't hate the Blackhawks fans because you didn't know them and who cares, right? None of it really mattered.
Again, talk to my uncle on this, okay? When I went to, I'm not going to name the hockey teams. I think it was the Bruins, actually. I think it was the Bruins who he almost got in a fight with, a Bruins fan.
Matters. The fake tribal affinity was something very good for the country because the underlying message was you can have fake tribal affinity when at the end of the day you're all friends. Mm-hmm. You can't have fake tribal affinity when serious issues are at stake. And what the left has said is that the issues that are at stake are so large and so powerful that we are not allowed to have fake tribal affinities anymore. You can't sit next to somebody who roots for the same team as you if you guys vote differently in the 2020 election.
That guy's still going to be sitting next to you. That guy's still going to be sitting next to you regardless. What are you talking about? So when you go to a football game and there's some people kneeling, in his mind, everybody is like, I'm for kneeling. Hi, my name is Ryan Brown, and I'm for kneeling. And then a guy next to me is like, my name is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I'm not for and I'm not for kneeling. And now I can't have a good time watching the sporting games because I'm sitting next to my sworn enemy.
Election.
These people are morons. Like, we know that, right? Like, even like Adam Carolla, I want to give Adam Carolla like the Henry Rollins pass of like, this guy, you know, he's just doing work because he doesn't want to work construction. But you're hanging out with these kooks, you know, and these guys got millions of followers. I mean, every time I go on like a podcast app or YouTube or iTunes or whatever, I got to look at this guy's mug. I got to look at this guy's mug because, I mean, he's of course being advertised with all this, you know, dark money and all this stuff, but people follow it. So, you know, this guy doesn't get a pass either because you're hanging out with them. You're pushing this. You're pushing people to be stupider, basically, to not challenge these kind of lazy beliefs and lazy thinking.
You shouldn't be allowed to be friends with that person. You shouldn't be allowed to talk about anything that distracts you because the issues at hand are so important and so vital that distraction merely distracts from something like a solution to these big problems that live out there in the universe. And
weird. Still no mention of the military money here into the sports organization.
And that's devastating.
Subscribe today at Prager U. Okay, so that's how they do it. They get somebody they make the dumbest videos possible with just absolute brain dead moron ideas, talking points. And then they're like, oh, people will make fun of this, and we'll just plug our link. So at least our link will get out there. Yeah, absolutely stupid. We're gonna whine about sports. You get Ben out there with his little suit and his little shoes on. I'm a little guy, and I like to distract people from the real issue. You know, he does a little tap dance. Well, there you go. Another dumb video from Dum Dums.